I sat there, staring at my son's face. The same face I'd kissed goodnight for 20 years, the same eyes I'd watched light up on Christmas mornings, and heard him say the words that would haunt me forever. "You're nothing but a disappointment, Dad. I'm ashamed you're my father." My hands, scarred from decades of building homes for other families, trembled as I realized my own son saw me as worthless. But 7 days later, when he lost everything and came crawling back, I had to make the hardest decision of my life. The candlelight flickered across our dining room table in Franklin, Tennessee, casting shadows that danced like the doubts in my mind. Outside, a warm April breeze carried the scent of honeysuckle through the cracked window of the modest home I'd built with my own hands. Every nail, every board, a testament to 35 years in construction. My name is Harrison Brennan, Harry to everyone who knows me, and at 58, my weathered hands tell stories of sacrifice that my son, Trevor, would never understand. "Pass the potatoes, please," my daughter Mackenzie asked softly, her green eyes, so like her mother's, darting nervously between Trevor and me. She could sense the tension building like the thunderstorms that roll through Tennessee valleys. Trevor, 28, and still living in the house I bought him, stabbed at his steak with unnecessary force. His designer watch, a gift from Nathaniel, his mother's new husband, caught the light as he moved. That watch cost more than I made in 3 months. "Something wrong with the food?" I asked, though I knew it wasn't about the meal. He looked up, his jaw clenched. "You know what's wrong, Dad? Everything about this." He gestured around the room, at the handmade furniture, the simple decor, the photos of better times. This mediocrity, this acceptance of being less than. Mackenzie gasped. "Trevor, don't." "No, Mac, I'm done pretending." He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor I'd installed 20 years ago. "You're nothing but a disappointment, Dad. I'm ashamed you're my father. Nathaniel, at least he knows what success looks like. He's teaching me about real business, real money, not this blue-collar poverty mindset you've trapped us in." The words hung in the air like humidity before a storm, heavy and suffocating. I felt my heart crack. Not break, not yet, but crack like old wood under pressure. This was my son. The boy I carried on my shoulders through these same Tennessee hills. The young man whose college tuition I'd paid by working double shifts in scorching summer heat. Nathaniel says men like you are relics, obsolete, irrelevant. And honestly, I think I'll start calling him Dad from now on. At least he's someone I can be proud of. I set down my fork carefully, deliberately. The clink against the plate was the only sound for a moment. Mackenzie had tears in her eyes. Trevor's chest heaved with the adrenaline of his cruelty. "Is that so?" I asked quietly, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "Yeah, it is. And you know what else? I'm embarrassed when people ask what my father does. Nathaniel owns 3 companies. You lay bricks." If you're watching this and you've ever felt the sting of being unappreciated by someone you love, please take just 1 second to hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything, just like every parent's sacrifice should mean everything to their children. I stood slowly, walked to the window and watched the fireflies beginning their evening dance. In the reflection, I saw not just myself, but generations of Brennan men who'd built this town with their sweat and determination. "I see," I said simply. "Then I suppose you won't be needing anything from this disappointment anymore." Trevor laughed, actually laughed. "Finally, you get it. Nathaniel's already offered to cover everything anyway." But he didn't see the decision crystallizing in my eyes like morning frost on Tennessee grass. He didn't know that tomorrow, Everything would change.
The next morning came with a determination I'd been storing for years. I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat in my study, surrounded by files, receipts, and bank statements, a paper trail of love measured in dollars and sacrifice. Every car payment for Trevor's Audi, every mortgage payment for his house, every emergency loan that was never repaid. By 5 a.m., as the first light crept over the rolling hills of Franklin, I had a plan. Mackenzie called at 6, her voice worried. "Dad, are you okay? Last night was—" "I'm better than okay, sweetheart. I'm finally awake." "What do you mean?" "You'll see." By 7 a.m., I was standing on Trevor's doorstep in the historic Leapers Fork district. He answered in his silk pajamas, another gift from Nathaniel, looking annoyed at the early intrusion. "Dad, what are you—" "I'm here for the car keys," I said, cutting him off. "The Audi. Hand them over." He laughed, but it was nervous now. "You're joking." "Check the registration, check who pays the insurance, check whose name is on literally every document." I pulled out the folder I'd brought. "It's all here, in black and white. That car you've been driving for 3 years, it's mine. I want it back. Now." "You can't do this." His face flushed red, the same shade as when he was a toddler throwing tantrums. "This is insane." "No, son. Insane is calling the man who supported you for 28 years a disappointment. The keys, or I call the police." His neighbor, Mrs. Hutchinson, was watering her garden, pretending not to watch. The humiliation in Trevor's eyes was profound. Good. He needed to feel something real for once. With shaking hands, he retrieved the keys and threw them at me. I got them easily. These hands had caught him 1,000 times when he was learning to walk. "This is low, even for you," he spat. "No, Trevor. This is consequences." As I drove away in the Audi, I saw him in the rearview mirror, standing in his doorway, already pulling out his phone. Calling Nathaniel, no doubt, or Diane, his mother. But I wasn't done, not even close. The bank was my next stop. First National of Williamson County, where I'd banked for 30 years, where they knew me by name, knew my story, knew my struggles. "Mr. Brennan," Janet greeted me, "how can we help you today?" "I need to stop all automatic payments on the Leapers Fork property," I said, placing the mortgage documents on her desk, effective immediately. Her eyes widened slightly. "But isn't that where Trevor lives?" "Not for much longer." As she processed the paperwork, my phone exploded with calls. Diane, Trevor, numbers I didn't recognize. I silenced them all. "Mr. Brennan," Janet said softly, "are you sure about this?" I thought of last night, of the contempt in my son's eyes, of the years of being taken for granted. I've never been more sure of anything in my life.
The drive back through Franklin was surreal. This town had seen me build houses for country music stars while my own family fell apart. The irony wasn't lost on me as I passed construction sites where my crew still worked, loyal men who'd never called me a disappointment. My phone had 47 missed calls by the time I reached home. I finally answered Diane's. "Harrison, what the hell are you doing?" Her voice was shrill, panicked. "Trevor called me crying, actually crying. You took his car? You're stopping the house payments?" "Hello to you too, Diane." "Don't you dare be calm about this. He's your son." "Is he?" I asked, genuinely curious, because last night he made it clear he'd prefer Nathaniel as the father. So let Nathaniel provide for him. "You're being petty and cruel." "No, I'm being practical. If I'm such a disappointment, why does he need anything from me?" She paused, and I could hear Nathaniel's voice in the background, that smooth, practiced tone of a man who'd never calloused his hands on honest work. "Nathaniel wants to talk to you," she said. "I don't want to talk to Nathaniel." "Harrison, please." "Tell me something, Diane. In the 5 years since our divorce, how many times has Trevor thanked me for the car, the house, the money I send every month despite having no legal obligation?" Silence. "That's what I thought." "Nathaniel says he'll sue you," she threatened. Let him try. Everything's in my name, everything's legal. And Diane, you might want to tell Nathaniel to check his business accounts. I heard the IRS is very interested in his creative accounting lately. What did you do? Nothing he didn't do to himself. Goodbye, Diane. I hung up and walked to my back porch, where the Tennessee hills rolled endlessly, green and lush. Beautiful, peaceful. Mackenzie arrived an hour later, her face etched with concern. She hugged me immediately, and I felt some of the ice in my chest melt. Dad, Trevor's losing it. He's posting all over social media about how you've abandoned him. Has he mentioned why? No, she admitted, just playing the victim. We sat together on the porch swing I'd built when she was 5. She still fit perfectly beside me, my daughter who'd never forgotten to say thank you, who still called every Sunday, who worked as a teacher despite Nathaniel offering her better opportunities. Am I wrong, Mackenzie? Am I the villain here? She took my rough hand in her smooth one. No, Dad, you're the furthest thing from a disappointment I know. You built this life with your bare hands. You raised us with love. You never missed a game, a recital, a parent-teacher conference. Trevor, she sighed. Trevor lost his way when Mom left. He chose flash over substance. Maybe I enabled it too long. Maybe. But cutting him off now, it might save him. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from Trevor. You'll regret this. Nathaniel's calling his lawyers. You're done. I showed Mackenzie. She shook her head sadly. He still doesn't get it, does he? No, I said, watching the sunset over the hills, but he will. Sometimes the hardest thing a parent can do is let their child fail. If you understand this pain, please share this video. Someone in your life might need to hear this story. Don't let them miss it because you didn't take 5 seconds to hit share.
3 days passed in relative quiet, the calm before the storm. I went to work as usual, laying foundation for a new house in the Cool Springs area. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from decades of practice, but my mind was elsewhere. The foreman, Jorge, approached during lunch break. "Harry, you okay? You seem different." "Just dealing with family stuff, Jorge." "Trevor?" I nodded. Jorge had known Trevor since he was young. He'd watched my son go from an eager kid helping on job sites to an entitled young man who looked down on the very work that fed him. "Sometimes," Jorge said, sitting beside me on a stack of lumber, "the hardest thing we build isn't houses, it's character. And sometimes we gotta tear down the rotten parts first." That afternoon, the storm hit. A black Tesla pulled up to the job site. Nathaniel emerged, all 6 feet of him in a designer suit that cost more than my truck. The entire crew stopped working to watch. "Harrison," he called out, his voice carrying that false friendliness of a salesman. "We need to talk." I climbed down from the scaffolding slowly, deliberately, making him wait. When I reached him, I didn't offer him his hand. "Nathaniel, this nonsense with Trevor needs to stop. I have here a cease and desist order from my lawyers. You're harassing the boy. The boy is 28 years old. Nevertheless, your actions are causing emotional distress." I took the envelope, opened it, and scanned the legal jargon. Then, to his surprise, I smiled. "Your lawyers might want to focus on your tax problems, Nathaniel. I heard the IRS just frozen your assets pending investigation." His face went pale. What did you do?" "Me? Nothing. But anonymous tips about offshore accounts and false deductions? Those tend to get attention." "You vindictive—" "Careful," I warned, my crew gathering closer, protective. "You're on my job site. These men, they're my family, real family. They've seen me bleed for everything I have. so choose your next words very carefully." Nathaniel straightened his tie, a nervous gesture. "Trevor's staying with us now. Diane's beside herself. You've torn this family apart." "No, Nathaniel, you did that when you whispered poison in my son's ear, when you made him believe that money was worth more than loyalty, when you taught him to despise honest work. I gave him opportunities. You gave him entitlement. There's a difference." My phone rang. It was Mitchell Cross, my lawyer, an old friend. "Harrison, you need to hear this. The IRS just announced an official audit of Nathaniel's companies. It's going to be in tomorrow's Tennessean." I put it on speaker. Nathaniel's face went from pale to ashen. "Furthermore," Mitchell continued, "Trevor just tried to file a lawsuit, but since everything is legally in your name and there's documented evidence of non-payment on his part, it's been dismissed." "Thanks, Mitchell." Nathaniel backed toward his Tesla. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said firmly, "it is." As he drove away, Jorge clapped me on the shoulder. That felt good to watch. It felt better to do. That evening, Diane called again. This time, she was crying. "Harrison, Nathaniel's in trouble, real trouble. The IRS, they're saying he might face criminal charges. His assets are frozen. We might lose everything." "You made your choice, Diane." "Trevor's scared. He doesn't understand what's happening." "Then maybe it's time someone explained it to him. He wanted Nathaniel as a father figure? Well, now he can learn what happens when you build your life on lies and other people's money." "How can you be so cold?" "Cold? I worked in 100-degree heat to pay for Trevor's college. I missed my father's funeral because Trevor needed bail money for a DUI you never knew about. I've sacrificed everything, and he called me a disappointment. So no, Diane, this isn't cold. This is long overdue."
The news broke on Thursday morning. "Nashville area business mogul under federal investigation," read the Tennessean headline. Nathaniel's photo, that polished, confident smile, now looked like a mask. I was having coffee at Puckett's Grocery when Trevor walked in. He looked different. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a simple t-shirt. The confidence had evaporated, leaving behind something raw and uncertain. He spotted me and hesitated. For a moment, I thought he'd leave. Then he walked over. Can I sit?" I gestured to the opposite booth. "Coffee?" asked Mary Beth, the waitress who'd served me for 20 years. "Just water," Trevor said quietly. We sat in silence for a moment. Around us, the morning crowd chatted and clinked silverware, oblivious to the gravity of our moment. "I got evicted yesterday. The house. They came with papers. Sheriff's Department." I said nothing. I tried to call Nathaniel, but his phone's disconnected. Mom says he's meeting with lawyers constantly. She's scared they'll lose their house, too. Still, I remained silent. Mackenzie won't lend me money, says I need to learn. She's right. He looked up, and for the first time in years, I saw the boy he used to be. Scared. Lost. Human. I've been sleeping in my friend Cody's basement, except I don't have a car to get to job interviews, and nobody wants to hire someone with no experience, except consulting for Nathaniel's companies that are now under investigation. And his voice cracked. I realized something at 3 a.m., lying on Cody's couch. Every single thing I had, every opportunity, every comfort, it all came from you, the man I called a disappointment. This is the moment where everything changes. If you've ever witnessed someone's world crumble only to rebuild them stronger, you understand this pain.
Please, hit that like button, not for me, but for everyone who's had to learn lessons the hard way. Your support helps these stories reach those who need them. Go on. You worked every day of your life. You built houses that families would create memories in. You raised us. You never complained, never gave up, even when Mom left. And I spit in your face. Tears were flowing now, and Mary Beth discreetly placed tissues on our table. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve anything from you. But I needed you to know you're not a disappointment. You never were. I am. I'm the failure who couldn't see what real success looks like. I let his words hang there, testing their weight, their sincerity. What do you want from me, Trevor? Nothing. I mean it. Not money, not the house, not the car. I wanted to apologize and to ask if maybe you could teach me. Did you what? How to build something real with my own hands. How to be the kind of man you are. I studied him carefully. This wasn't the entitled boy from last week. This was someone who'd been broken and was trying to find the pieces. I start work at 6 a.m. sharp. The crew's building a house on Liberty Pike. If you're there, ready to work, I'll teach you. But understand this, you'll be treated like any other rookie. No special treatment, no shortcuts. I'll be there. And Trevor, this isn't a game. You show up late, you're done. You complain, you're done. You disrespect anyone on my crew, you're done. I understand. I stood to leave, dropping money on the table for my coffee. Dad, he called as I reached the door. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, son. Tomorrow's going to be the hardest day of your life. 5:45 a.m. The construction site was still dark, lit only by floodlights and the faint pre-dawn glow. I arrived to find Trevor already there, sitting on a pile of lumber, wearing borrowed work boots and clothes that didn't quite fit. "You're early," I observed. "Couldn't sleep. Figured early was better than late." The crew arrived in waves, their trucks rumbling into the lot. They saw Trevor and looked to me for explanation. "Everyone, this is Trevor. He's starting as a laborer today. Jorge, he's under you." Jorge, built like a linebacker with hands like sledgehammers, looked Trevor up and down. "You ever worked construction?" "No, sir." "Sir?" Jorge laughed. "Save that for church. Here, I'm Jorge. And here, you work or you leave. Got it?" "Got it." What followed was brutal. Trevor hauled lumber until his hands bled. He mixed concrete until his arms shook. He dug trenches while the other guys, men he'd probably looked down on a week ago, worked circles around him. By lunch, he was destroyed. I watched him collapse against a wall, his new work shirt soaked with sweat despite the mild Tennessee morning. His hands were wrapped in makeshift bandages from blisters that had formed and burst. "Quitting time?" asked Rodriguez, one of my senior guys. Not unkindly. Trevor looked at his destroyed hands, then at the house frame rising against the sky, then at me watching from across the site. "No," he said, struggling to his feet, just catching my breath. Something shifted in the crew's attitude. They'd expected him to quit. Hell, I'd expected him to quit, but he didn't. By day's end, Trevor could barely walk to where I stood surveying the progress. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "If you can make it." "I'll make it." As he limped away, Cody was picking him up since he had no car. Jorge approached me. "Kid's got more grit than I expected," he admitted. Day 1's adrenaline. Let's see about day 10. But day 10 came, and Trevor was there. Day 20, day 30. His hands hardened, his body adapted. More importantly, his attitude transformed. I overheard him one afternoon talking to Rodriguez during a water break. My dad built houses like this for 35 years. 35 years of making homes for families. That's incredible. Your old man's the best in the business, Rodriguez replied. Honest, fair, skilled. We'd all take a bullet for Harry. I used to think Nathaniel was successful, but he just moved money around, created nothing. This, he gestured at the house. This is real. This matters. What you're witnessing is a transformation only possible through humility and hard work. If this resonates with you, if you believe in redemption and second chances, please subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to remember what really matters in life. Don't let pride stop you from spreading hope.
3 months passed. Summer arrived in Franklin with blazing sun and afternoon thunderstorms that turned construction sites into mud pits. Trevor never missed a day. The investigation into Nathaniel's businesses had exploded into a full federal case. Diane called occasionally, her voice smaller each time, asking for help I couldn't give. The empire Nathaniel built on sand was washing away. One evening, I found Trevor still at the site after everyone had left, practicing his framing technique on scrap wood. "You know the workday's over," I said. "I know. Just wanted to get this right. Jorge's teaching me to read blueprints, and I want to be ready." I sat beside him on a sawhorse, looking at the house we were building, now nearly complete. "You've changed," I observed. "I hope so." He set down his hammer. "Dad, can I tell you something?" I nodded. "Last week, Cody offered me a job at his dad's real estate firm. Sales. Good money, company car, the works. And I turned it down." He looked at his calloused hands with something approaching pride. 6 months ago, I would have jumped at it. Anything to avoid actual work. But now, I want to finish learning this. I want to build things that matter. "Even though construction workers are relics?" I asked, referencing his old insult. He winced. "Especially because I was so wrong. You know what I realized? Every building in this town, someone like you built it. Every home where families make memories, someone like you made it possible. Nathaniel? He's going to federal prison. His legacy is scandal and shame. You? Your legacy is all around us, giving people shelter, safety, homes." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set behind the Tennessee hills. "Mom called yesterday. They're getting divorced. She's moving back to Knoxville to live with her sister." "I'm sorry." "Are you?" "I considered it. Actually, no, I'm not." He laughed. A real laugh, not the bitter sound from months ago. "Me neither. She chose flash over substance, just like I did. The difference is, you learned. Almost too late." "Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades," I said, using an old phrase my father had taught me. Mackenzie joined us, bringing barbecue from Martin's and sweet tea. She hugged Trevor, examining his work-hardened appearance with approval. "You look different. Better. Real. I feel real. For the first time in years." We ate together as the job site settled into evening quiet. 3 Brennans, broken and rebuilt, sitting among the skeletons of future homes. "I've been thinking, after I really learn this trade, maybe we could go into business together. Brennan and Son Construction. Brennan and Children. I've been taking business classes. Someone needs to manage you two properly." I looked at my children, one who had never lost her way, one who had found it again, and felt something repair itself in my chest. Not just heal, but grow back stronger, like a broken bone. "We'll see," I said, but I was smiling. As we packed up to leave, Trevor stopped at his practice frame and ran his hand along the wood. "Dad, that night at dinner, when I called you those things, it's forgiven, son.
How? How can you forgive that? Because holding on to anger is like holding on to a hot coal. It only burns the one holding it. And because you're my son, that never changed, even when you forgot it. His eyes glistened in the fading light.
1 year later. The morning sun cast long shadows across the newest Brennan and Children construction site. We'd officially incorporated 6 months ago, after Trevor had completed his apprenticeship and Mackenzie had finalized her business degree. I stood with my coffee, watching Trevor direct a group of new workers. His instructions were clear, patient, respectful. Everything he'd learned the hard way. "Foundation's got to be perfect," he was saying. "My dad taught me that. Everything else depends on it being right." One of the rookies, a kid maybe 19, complained about the tedious foundation work, wanting to move on to real building. Trevor's response made me proud. "Let me tell you something about foundations. A year ago, I thought I was too good for this work. I had everything handed to me and respected nothing. Then I lost it all because my foundation was rotten. This work? This teaches you that nothing worthwhile comes easy. That real success is built from the ground up. Literally." Mackenzie emerged from the construction trailer we used as an office, tablet in hand. "Dad, we got the West Haven development contract. 15 houses." "The West Haven? Where Trevor used to live?" She nodded. The property had been foreclosed and bought by the city for redevelopment. Poetic justice, or perhaps just poetry. Also, she added quietly, "Mom called. She wanted to know if we'd consider hiring her as an administrative assistant." Trevor had overheard and joined us. "What'd you tell her?" "That she'd need to interview like anyone else, no special treatment." I nodded. "Fair enough." The truth was, Diane's life had crumbled completely. Nathaniel was serving 8 years for tax fraud. His assets were seized. She'd been living on her sister's charity, finally understanding what it meant to depend on family, real family. "Would you actually hire her?" Trevor asked. "If she's qualified and willing to work, yes. Everyone deserves a second chance. You're proof of that." Jorge honked his truck horn, arriving with lumber. As we unloaded, he pulled me aside. "Harry, the crew wanted me to tell you something. We voted. If you're ever ready to retire, we want Trevor to take over as foreman. Kid's earned our respect." I watched my son teaching the new guy how to properly measure, twice, cut, once. His patience with the rookie's mistakes reminded me of my own father teaching me decades ago. "He'll be ready soon," I agreed. That evening, we held a barbecue at the original house, my house, the one I'd built with my hands and raised my children in. The entire crew came, their families filling the backyard with laughter and the sound of country music drifting from speakers. Trevor stood to make a toast, tapping his beer bottle for attention. "A year ago, I said terrible things in this house. I called my father a disappointment and chose fool's gold over real treasure. I destroyed everything with my entitlement and greed." He paused, looking directly at me. "But my father taught me something profound. He taught me that sometimes we need to lose everything to understand what really matters, that respect is earned, not inherited, that building something with your own hands creates value money can't buy." He raised his bottle higher. "To Harrison Brennan, my father, my teacher, my hero, the most successful man I know, and everyone here who helped rebuild not just houses, but a lost son. Thank you." The yard erupted in cheers. Mackenzie hugged me from one side, Trevor from the other. For a moment, I couldn't speak around the lump in my throat. Later, as the party wound down, Trevor and I sat on the porch watching fireflies dance in the warm Tennessee night. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "That night, when you said those things, were you planning this? The whole thing?" I considered my answer. No, I was just hurt, angry. But then I realized something. I'd been enabling your weakness by cushioning every fall. Love isn't just support. Sometimes it's letting someone face consequences. It saved my life. No, son. You saved your own life when you showed up that first morning ready to work.
I just gave you the opportunity. A car pulled up. Diane emerged, looking older, humbler, wearing simple clothes instead of designer labels. She approached hesitatingly. I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to apologize. To both of you. Trevor stood. Mom? I chose poorly. I valued the wrong things. Taught our son the wrong lessons. Harrison, you were never the disappointment. I was. I stood too, extending my hand. Would you like to stay for dinner? Mackenzie made her famous chili. Her eyes widened in surprise. You'd welcome me? We're not the same people we were a year ago. Any of us. As she walked inside, Trevor lingered with me. You're a better man than I could ever be, Dad. No, son. I'm just a man who learned that holding grudges is like building on sand. Forgiveness is bedrock. The Tennessee hills stood eternal in the distance, unchanged by our human dramas. But we had changed, broken down and rebuilt stronger. Tomorrow's Saturday, but I'm thinking of starting on a special project. Want to help? What kind of project? A house. A small one. For a man who's learned the value of building his own future. Trevor's eyes widened as he understood. For me? With your own hands this time. Every nail, every board. So you'll always remember what it really means to build something. I'll be there at dawn. I know you will, son. I know you will.